This is Teton 1's 2018 Facility Plan Meeting with School Facilities Division of the State Construction Department, and we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Hey, this is Jeff Daugherty, Assistant Superintendent, Teton County School District. With me today is Jason Huggins, who is doing a job shadow this week. We have Kristen Voorhees, our business manager, and we have Gillian Chapman, and that's it, right?
Laura Davenport.
Laura Davenport.
All right, and then you've noted that Paul will not be here. So, okay, Amber, go on. All right.
Amber Leach, Planning.
I am Charlie Kaufman, Planning.
Lance
Troy
Johnson.
Decker, Planning. Go ahead, Lance, sorry.
Lance Johnson, School Facilities Project Manager.
All right, I want to thank...
And Troy Decker.
Oh, go ahead, Troy, sorry.
That's all right, I just keep jumping in there. Troy Decker, Planning.
I want to thank everyone
Troy.
today and for everyone's participation today, and thank Amber for all the work that she's done previously in the district for getting everything done in preparation for this facility plan meeting. It really does help us to really focus on the important issues that are at hand for your district, and helps to increase the efficiency of these meetings. So with that, we are going to turn off our webcam. We've been having bandwidth issues here and streaming issues, so we will shut that off. It is not really needed. So, but can you see our screen, district?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, we'll go ahead.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes.
If I may, and I apologize, it took me just a little bit. I am doing notes for this meeting, even though I'm in Laramie at the University of Wyoming, but I'll do the notes. Charlie will just kind of go through the template. And I apologize, it took me just a moment to bring that up. You had one other person with you other than we've got Kristen, Gillian, Laura, and Jeff. And who else, please?
Jason Huggins, who's doing a job shadow with us this week.
Huggins?
Yes.
Okay, and what's Jason's position?
He's a teacher at the middle school.
He's in our leadership program for his administration certification.
Okay. Admin, leadership. Okay, it's just kind of, okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Troy, for the clarification. So what we'll do today, we're going to roll through the first parts of this because of the verification. And if you do have any questions or any concerns in this first part, feel free to just interject. So really quick, we do have aerial photos for all those out there of your schools right here. For example, like Davy Jackson. Then you have John Colton Summit on the right here, Jackson Hole Middle School, Alta, Kelly, and then the high school with Moran here on this last page.
There's not one for Munger on there.
I will show you Munger really quick, actually. I do have Google Earth.
Okay.
There's not, so the photo we have of this one for Munger Mountain is not very, this is what we've got so far for that picture. Not a lot there.
Great.
But
thankfully, we're way past.
What's that?
Thankfully, we're way past that, huh?
Yes. Yes, I would. Yeah, yes, I'm glad that's the case. So yes, no, that was just right after you guys had broken ground. So that's the most recent photo we have. So, all right. So tracks and deeds. I did want to talk a little bit here about the note. So in Teton Village, you're looking to acquire some land. Go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Are you familiar with what an exaction is?
Ooh. Not in any words, no.
Okay. So a development exaction is an obligation imposed on a developer in order to offset and mitigate anticipated impacts resulting from development. In '93, the county did an exaction study and determined that for every so many houses and commercial uses built, there was an impact on the schools and the parks of 0.03 acres. And so as Teton Village has developed over the years, that 0.03 obligation has amounted in about a 12 acre or 12.75 acre parcel. Some of that's in right of way. Over the years, Teton County School District has negotiated that the portion that will be going to the school district is 3 acres. Last month, that land transferred from the developer to the county, and now the school district is working with the county to get 3 acres within that 12-acre parcel dedicated to Teton County School District for future use for a school.
So Teton Village, whereabouts? I do have that pulled up on the map right now.
Okay, move your cursor to see where that 390 is on there, where it says 390.
Yes, right here.
Yeah. So just back toward us slightly. Come back to that open parcel of ground that's in between McAllister Drive and Highway 89. Yes, right there. That's it. It's not that entire parcel. If you had the county GIS system, I can send you an aerial plat view of it.
Sure.
But your cursor's right on it right now. And it's everything from that zigzag road north. See that little zigzag dirt road by where it says 2018 Google? And it's from there north, and it's from the highway to those little condos there, the little affordable housing units on the northwest corner. Follow that north further. There is an easement right about where your cursor is. It's about 30, 40 feet from the right-of-way there. That right-of-way, as you can see, is McAllister Drive near your cursor.
Okay.
So there's a right-of-way in there that we're asking for 3 developable acres.
Got it.
So we would ask the county to exclude any land encumbered by right-of-way or easements that we couldn't otherwise develop, because as you folks know, 3 acres is very challenging to develop a school within.
Very good. Thank you for the information. I wanted to get that pointed out and see where that was at. So thank you for that.
Jillian?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just put, basically, I did note that, and I just said the district's exploring options for future use of the property. I know you shared with me and Casper some opportunities there, but would that be fair to say in the notes you're just exploring future use of that property?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when that property is acquired by the district, we'll have you guys send a name update form with the deed over to Janet, and then we'll get that added to the system.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you for that. So there are no questions on the other tracks as of right now. And then on land leases, were there any questions on land leases or property profiles?
No.
So this is Laura. So the land lease piece is where y'all submitted that state-owned property that all of these schools, middle school, Summit, the district office all live on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that one, we do have that one. I will, for everyone else, benefit, excuse me. The main property here is a lease with the state, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Right. So it goes up through here with the bus barn included on that.
Correct.
All right. Yep. So we do have that noted. It is, unfortunately, it's very hard to see in that one, but wow. Let's see. There we go.
I put it in the notes that it includes those areas. that it includes your main office, your district office, the bus bar, the schools, the summit, etc. So that is in the notes.
Perfect. Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Amber. And then for your enhancements, this piece, right now this is currently what we have in there. I know that Munger Mountain currently, with it being under construction, when the final costs of those come in, then we'll update that.
Okay.
Want to make sure we noted that. All right, so I did see this, the minor change to Coulter Elementary School, the moving of the aluminum storefront. What I need to do, we're not going to show the floor plans in this meeting for security reasons, but what I'll do, district, is I'll send you the drawings for Coulter, and I want you just to note where that's at, and we'll make that change. What we're looking to do is we're looking to have FEA come out and measure up minor alterations like this one right here when they do Munger Mountain. Just a quick question as a side note, when is the completion date for Munger Mountain at this point?
Substantial completion is like August 26th.
Okay.
When we expect to have certificate of occupancy. And then final punch out is, Lance, I want to say like end of September.
Yeah, 30 days later.
So what we'll look to do is we're looking to have FEA. We have about 9 or 10 other buildings right now statewide that we need to have measured and added to our system. We're going to send them out, and we'll have them come out to Munger Mountain to do that, and then we'll have them look at this Coulter Elementary School piece around that same time, I believe.
So,
Yeah, will you restate that? I didn't quite copy what you said.
So this fall, after the completion of your school, FEA, our consultant, we have them go out and measure new buildings and do a baseline assessment. And so we're looking to have them come out this fall, probably around the September timeframe, so we can get this into our system.
No, we can. He's just adding a storefront. He wants us to document when Paul puts that new secure vestibule in. He wants us to document the location of the new storefront.
so you're not saying that we can't do anything until that visit in September?
No,
we're
not saying that at all. We're just saying we're going to note that. Like we'll have them alter the floor plan when they're out doing Munger Mountain. They'll come do it at the same time around that time.
Great, that works. Thank you.
Yeah, so no, we're not saying anything of that kind at all. We're just saying we want to capture that change, and that's why we have that. One of the things we were looking at with this year with districts is between assessments, districts often make changes to their buildings, configure them differently, and they're not major changes, but they're big enough that the drawings no longer are accurate. And so we're looking for FEA to capture some of those minor changes to keep our database up to date and make sure that we have the best data at all times. So,
Hey, Laura just raises a good point. When, for purposes of placing it on the radar of that consultant, we did some enhancements to 2 modulars at Davy Jackson that are going to be used for pre-K services.
Those are the 2 that were deeded over from the Children's Learning Center.
So I don't know if you want to have your guy look at those while he's here.
So typically with modulars, unless they're the actual main school for like a rural school, we don't really do much with them, modular buildings.
Okay.
Fair enough. We just wanted you to be aware.
Thank you. No, thank you for noting that, and we'll make sure that we'll note that. Thank you.
So just out of curiosity, is that, you said it's for early childhood, or what did you say they're for?
It's going to be for employee children 0 to 24 months. They're 2, you know where they are, Troy, that they're trailers at the south end of JES.
Yes.
So Children's Learning
Okay.
Center built new facilities. So instead of paying to have them torn down, they gave them to the school district.
Charlie, you'll be able to show that on Google if you want to look at that. That's been there for a long time.
Okay, we can pull that up real quick for Davy Jackson. Give me a second.
And those are the two AIM database update requests that we submitted.
Okay, so these, right, so then you're putting them on this site. Okay.
Move your cursor south.
You
Keep
need to
going.
go down some more, Charlie.
Or, hold on, or the other way.
Keep going.
No, go south.
We need to see more of the bottom of the page, Charlie. Right at the south end of that green space where you're at.
Oh, right here?
Keep going.
There you go.
There you go.
Must be a little bit of delay in the video, so okay. Gotcha. Okay.
That one your cursor's on right now is condemned, so we just use it for storage.
And that's on our list as modular number 1,
Okay.
JES. And the two new ones that we added are going to be listed as 6 and 7.
6 is in the middle.
Whichever's bigger is 7.
So that you
That'd be
understand, thank you for getting that documentation in. Janet is working on the 6 and 7 to get it into the system. We do have that noted here in the facility plan, further down on the next page.
This one right here?
No,
Or
next,
down?
right there.
There you go.
So I did get it noted in the facility plan that you do have that information provided for us, and we are in process to add it into the AIM update system. So thank you guys for doing the part that we needed.
You bet.
Hey,
Thank
Charlie.
you for your help.
Yes, Troy.
Charlie, when these do get entered and stuff, will you follow up with the district? I think I'd like, I know we're going with modular numbers. Let's make sure that in parentheses behind that, we have the use of each modular. And so, Laura, I don't know if you could maybe send us maybe a list of modulars 1 through whatever, and just tell us, is it storage? Is it, this employee children's, daycare? Is it, if we could just have a short 2 or 3 word descriptor behind each of those, I think that would be a wonderful tool.
Okay, I can do that.
All right. That would be most helpful. And that way, when we get them in the system, once they're in the system, then I can edit names and I can change addresses, what I need to do on those. But I can't initially enter them in. That's where Janet comes in. So, excuse me. Okay. Thank you for the discussion. What we'll do now, we're going to continue moving on here. For district appropriations updates, and we have pulled up that. Hold on a second.
I do.
Okay. So very good. So let's look at your projects here. Currently, we know Munger Mountain's under construction with the, obviously substantial completion date isn't until this August. So we will keep 1155 open. We'll revisit it next year and talk about it a little bit more. 1172 and 73 looks like have been completely expended. Those can be closed out.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. And then 1184, you guys are currently in process right now.
Yes.
And I appreciate the note here. I know that you guys are looking to work and remedy that parking lot instead of building a transportation building. I don't know. I personally can't make the change in the name of the project. We just kind of leave it there. But it's just for one of those things. It's just it's more of a historical name. So, and that's what kind of known as. So I won't change the name on that one.
Well, what you could do is just fund the new transportation building, and then we'll build it, and then this will all be accurate.
Simple solution.
This is a simple solution. Well, Spendy,
There is no simple solution when you're working through the legislative appropriation process, I assure you.
That's a fair. Thank you. All right, we did capture it from last year's facility plan meeting. You're looking at the paving project there, using $800,000 in local funds and $468,000 that you were allocated for that. So you're in the bidding process. When do the bids come in for that project?
They're in.
Oh, they're in? Okay.
We're in contract execution stage right now, Charlie.
Gotcha. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're getting an update where you're at. So very good. All right. Any questions?
Go ahead. When substantial completion for that anticipated, District?
August 31st.
Thank you.
Okay. We will note that. Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments about the district appropriations update?
I don't think so. Laura? Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Moving on to security, Lynn. I'm going to turn this over to Lance to give you the rundown and everything that needs.
Okay. So there was $9 million that was funded in 2014 for security money, and in 2015 they defined those projects. And out of those defined projects, there were 8 priorities that they came up with, and those are the security elements that you have some of those in funded for your building. And we have gone through and talked about those and looked at, you've started planning on a new two-way communication system that you're going to be utilizing that. And also we had talked about the 10% of your major maintenance money that was from July 1st, 2016 to July 2018, 10% of that money you could be using for security, pretty much unrestricted. And also, I think you're realizing as well that if you don't have, there's no money in the security funding for soft costs, so you're able to use your major maintenance money for design for some of these security problems or security solutions that you're looking for. We had also talked this.
Is that the 152 what we have access to?
Yeah, Laura, what was your balance? I thought it was like 90 or something.
For
what you spent your generator money on?
We used the generator money out of the district 152-915 number. So
okay.
You'll see that 680 report this year. No money, the security above require a DAO, and that's where we would like to move the $20,000 from the two-way communication to the secured vestibule to help with, say, culture. And
so, with that being said, that we had started discussing the ability to move money, and we haven't gotten together yet on the logistics of what needs to be moved into where, but we have talked about that. So I would imagine we may get started talking about that even as much as next week when I'm up there. And with that being said, you'll have to submit that in writing to the SFD, the move, and also acknowledge that there won't be any back funding for those elements that you've moved money from. And that'll have to be in writing as well. And the select committee and the school facilities commission has been a little concerned with the slow deployment of these funds. The SFD went in requesting another $17.9 million for security, and it was declined by legislature due to the slow deployment of this security money. And I know that you guys are getting geared up to start spending this money there. So. I'm sorry.
And Lance, to clarify, the security elements that add up to 94,000, those require a DAO in order for us to use that money, correct?
Yes. First, what we'll have to do is we'll have to move money from one element to another, and then when you get your, when we get a proposal, then I would submit that proposal with a Dow, just as I do with regular capital or component funding. So yes,
Okay.
we do have to do a Dow.
Okay. But yeah, and then the bottom fund for Gillian and Jason's, that is through major maintenance, is not required a Dow for the 152. So the $32,000 that's left out of the 152 is still available for security measures through major maintenance.
Right.
You don't have to have a, you have to apply.
I have to do a work order for any funding out of the 152. For the 94, I have to require that.
That's correct. Yep. And so if you get with Amber, she can give you information on additional security funding that may be out there through Homeland Security as well. So with that being said, Charlie, that's what I have.
Thank you, Lance, for that review and for the discussion. Any other questions or comments on security? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to capacity. So in your district, we just have everything broken out by school, and then in your in-town, obviously you have your in-town elementaries as well. So I wanted to know really quick, the 584 on Munger Mountain is what the commission set. When FEA comes out this fall, they will actually take measurements of all the spaces within that building, and then a final building capacity will be determined at that point.
Okay.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes.
Charlie, talk about that one just a little bit, because districts are always surprised. You know, our square foot calculator is very generous.
Yes.
And like 100% of the time, the actual capacity of those buildings ends up being more than what the commission approved, which is fine. But sometimes districts are surprised when that capacity number comes out. So talk to them just a little bit about
Absolutely.
that.
So
make sure they understand that.
584 is the baseline number. It must hold at least that many students when we do it through the square foot calculator. And so districts are required, or more than anything, they need to meet that number, at least meet that number. They can exceed that number as much as they want, but they're at least required to meet that number 584. And actually, because I actually did the review on your drawings at the 10 and 35%, the capacity of your building at 35%, I want to say, was 619 students. So it exceeded that by 35 students. So I didn't have any issues with that. I believe I'd reviewed those both at 10 and 35. And so at that point, I thought you guys were were in good shape on what you guys had designed at that point. So this is actually one of the unique ones that I'd had the opportunity to see the drawings and see the capacity within the drawings itself. Does that make sense? Okay.
Troy,
That's good, Charlie.
Sorry, go ahead, Ted.
On that element. Moran.
We missed that. Go ahead and say that again.
Hang on, there are two spreadsheets there, so I'm just.
On the elementary capacities, we noticed that Alta and Moran are not listed with the other elementary schools.
They are in that spreadsheet that you show there, that little box, but if you look in the box below, Teton 1 elementary capacities, those two schools are not listed.
Oh, so
Correct.
to clarify this one really quick for you, I do apologize. So these are your in-town schools, or the schools that are right directly in Jackson that you bus students to and from. So these are the ones that are affected by that Munger Mountain will be helping alleviate the capacity on.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's a little different. We did list them here because we do consider Alta. Obviously, Alta's on the other side of the mountain. You're not busing students from Jackson to Alta. You're just not doing that. And
Well, we are for middle and high school.
are you doing that for elementary though?
No.
No.
Okay, that's the reason why.
So what we've done in the past, just to let you guys know historically. So what we try to do is we think that, and I've worked with your district in the past to define this and to decide exactly which ones. So we've talked with you guys. These are the schools that you're willing. I mean, you're willing to. I assume you're willing to bus students from the Wilson area in, or Jackson out, or Kelly in, or Kelly out on the elementary. That's what I've been told in the past. So what we don't want to do is penalize you for elementary schools like in Moran and Alta, that they're really far enough away that they're not really affecting your elementary capacity number. And so that's why we eliminated those from this analysis that says 71.44 to make it more realistic and say, hey, we can't say that Alta can bring any relief to the Jackson elementary schools, because you're not going to be taking those elementary students clear over the pass every day. But we acknowledge for your junior high school that that's the case, and that's fine.
I just don't want, I understand what you're saying about that, but, you know, on subsequent sheets, it appears that we are penalized for Alta, Moran, and Summit because you're not considering them in the middle school and high school capacity. And we get those kids from Alta and Moran, and Summit should be part of the high school capacity.
They are. So what happens is that when you get to the middle school, high school, we do have them separated out. And we do this based off enrollment and then the building capacity as well. So they're included in your enrollment figures once they get to that point. But before middle school, they're not. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, it does. It concerns me when it's separated out. I want to make sure that they are included because, you know, those kids matriculate to us. So it does impact the available capacity, which is our huge concern right now, you know, with middle school in particular. It's a little easier to deal with high school, but, you know, we're now for a building for high school, and our facilities can't even compare with the other 4A schools with which we have to compete.
So let's talk about that just a little bit on the use of these enrollment projections. So, I mean, if you want us to, we can bring in your Alta and Moran students. You're saying they do come to the high school, and so and we can certainly bring those in our element. I'm looking down at the enrollment projection sheet, Charlie, and if you do you have that spreadsheet, you can bring that up on the computer.
Correct. I was going to bring it up right now. So there's that.
Okay.
And so here we are.
Okay, so go over to the first, go down.
Further?
Way down.
Way down.
Way down.
Right here?
No, we should have the WDE numbers.
You need to go to the first tab. Then.
First tab. Oh, you want me to go to the first tab? Excuse me.
Yep. Okay, so down, and my screen's a little small there. So I think what she's asking us to do is bring in Moran and Alta into this.
Okay.
Amber, specifically.
If you go up to the slide where we don't have what you have on the screen, we don't have that as a part of our packet. But if you go up to page 10, where it says Facility Planning 2018, Teton 1, non-inclusive of Alta, Moran, and Summit. That's what I have an issue with.
Got it.
Correct. And so what we want to do here, no problem. Let's go ahead and Amber specifically add Alta and Moran to our spreadsheet. Okay, and that will contribute to this. Now, we do not do alternative high schools. We do not include alternative high schools into your secondary numbers for your regular high school. And the reason is because those students have a dedicated school, okay, and we figure capacity on that dedicated school separate from the high school as a whole. So we've never done that, and we do not do that with any other school district.
And I get that, but I get what you're saying because they're being funded. So it's not that part that I'm worried about. It's we lose track of them. They count. You know, we're looking at 60 kids that we lose track of, that eventually doesn't hit our total enrollment, and that's money to us.
Okay, so I almost feel like we're getting confused between block grant and major maintenance, maybe?
No, I'm not. I don't lose track of the fact that we've got 60 kids at Summit.
Yes.
And they don't show up anywhere on our facility planning and our enrollment projections, and they should.
They actually do. If you go up a couple more, go back to the one, we actually show the capacity of that building at 83.93. So we have accounted for them in an individual building where their enrollment is actually reported at from their home school.
And I see that. My concern is on page 10, Alta, Moran, and Summit students are not included in our overall enrollment projections. And this chart, we use it for a number of other purposes in our school district. We find this particular chart very valuable. And when you have taken out Alta, Moran, and Summit, it impacts the accuracy of the data and how we use it. We use it to talk about our enrollment projections. We use it in our community. We use it for planning purposes for each of our buildings. I'm not necessarily worried about, I understand what you're saying about Summit kids and the high school, not count, basically you'd be counting them double otherwise, but I still want those kids in this chart to indicate what our enrollment currently is and what our projections, what we are thinking our projections are. That's all I'm asking for.
So let's do it this way. We're going to do two different things. We will include, so the first one, Amber, on page, I'm looking at page 14 now, I think. It says non-inclusive of Alta, Moran, and Summit High School. Let's take out, that one should be, and follow me here, that's Gillian who's talking with me, correct?
You know it.
Okay, okay.
Troy, what you could do is have two charts. You could have one that says non-inclusive of Alta, Moran, and Summit, and then you could have one inclusive of all schools.
Correct, but I don't think that is exactly what I understood you asking, and that's where I was going actually. So I think, but here's what I want to do for your high school. For our purposes, I want to include Alta and Moran because you're saying that those students end up at the high school no matter what. So let's include those, yeah, at middle school and high school. So let's include them in this one. So this one's going to say Teton 1. I'm on page 14, right, Charlie?
Yes.
So this one's going to say Teton 1, non-exclusive of Summit High School. Then we're going to have, another one, and what we're going to do is include Alta, Moran in this one. Then we're going to have another one that says all schools, right? All schools. We're going to have a separate enrollment projection that shows the whole thing. That'll meet your needs and our needs simultaneously. Does that sound good?
That makes me happy. Thank you.
Okay, Amber, we got it?
Yep, working on it now.
Okay, we will get those.
Perfect.
What we'll do then when we're done is we will get those uploaded into the facility plan module. Is that what we're going to do? Or?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. But I'm just asking. Okay, so when you're done, just let me know. I'll do it.
So how quickly will that be? Because we've got a facility and capacity workshop with our board in a couple of weeks here that we're prepping for, and that's what we want to use this chart for.
I'm trying to work on it at this very moment. Let me have at least a couple days just to make sure I have the data correct and have somebody look at it. But we should have it by the 1st of next week for you if that's satisfied.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, we're sorry we're so efficient over here. We'll get Amber, would you slow down? Man, you're way too efficient.
I'm not efficient yet. I haven't produced anything as of I just got the document pulled up. That's it.
Oh no, I heard the promise right there. We're going for it.
I outspoke. It's okay.
Okay. So thank you for those. Actually, let's go back. So we'll get those enrollment projections to you as soon as we can. Let's go ahead and move on then real quick to the statewide capacity list. This is more for your information than anything. For every year, we organize our capacity issues for policy 2013-20. Munger Mountain was a result of you guys being the #1 capacity issue a few years back. And, you know, grateful that we were able to get that one through the legislature and get you guys funded for that school. Currently, this is what this year's enrollment, our capacity issues are in the state right now. Currently, high priority are as above 100%, medium between 95 and 100, and then low between 90 and 95%. And currently, right now, we're working on Afton and Osmond, the Lincoln 2, and then Rock Springs. We're working on those as well, looking to request them here in the upcoming budgets.
Okay.
And then, so this is where Jackson, your middle school here, this is where you end up at this point in time. You are on the list, low priority at this point. And currently with low priorities, we just continue to enroll them on and monitor your enrollments and look at where we're headed in the coming years, making sure that we keep an eye on this, and then we'll look for future action on this as well.
Is number 6, the low priority, the Cheyenne K6, is that the one that was just included in the legislative action that's funded now?
That one had to do with the 7-8 range. The K6 was not included in that one.
In the legislative bill passed last night?
Oh, I guess I don't know. I'm unaware of that, unfortunately. Go ahead.
So just to be clear, what was funded through the legislature and signed in by the governor is Cary Junior High School. It is not a K6 school. It is a junior high school. There was discussion on that with regard to using it as swing space for elementaries as they remedy other elementaries within Cheyenne, but that's the only relation it has toward elementary capacity.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I had misunderstood your question. Thank you for clarifying, Troy. Yes, absolutely. So that was, we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute as well. So, but anyways, for your information, you guys are in the low priorities between 90 and 95%, and we'll continue to monitor and work your enrollment and work with you guys here in the coming years. Okay, major maintenance calculations and allowable gross square footage. So every year we get the question that how is our major maintenance payment calculated? What are the driving factors? And really, you know, we get a lot of questions about it. So this year we included an illustration for districts to know really kind of where they stand. This is the ADM from 2015-16, and this is the information that was based on last year's payment. So there's a couple things here that we wanted to go over. The first is that you guys got paid for 448,191 square feet. That's what your major maintenance covered on that, and you actually have 508,136 square feet. So that takes your whole district square footage as a whole, and so that means, you know, schools like you have Moran and Alta and Kelly that are outside of Jackson at this point that aren't as full. Then you have your in-town schools that are more full, and then you also have the high school, and right now that isn't as full as the middle school. So you have that little gap there. And there's another thing that we talked about last summer and tried to work through the legislature, and that was we wanted to close the gap on major maintenance funding. And so what we did is we conducted a study where we wanted to raise the RS means value, which is your replacement value per square foot, so from 169 to 221 square feet, or $221 a square foot. And then we looked to increase the current replacement value that you get each year from 2% to 2.5%, which would have resulted in a significant increase to the major maintenance funding. And a few other measures we're looking there. As of this time, all that failed with the exception of one item, which was the 7-year phase-in. And we'll talk a little bit more here about the 7-year phase-in. But right now, we're still trying to find ways to be able to bridge the gap between major maintenance funding and what you guys have on the ground. And so we're, as always, we try to make sure we alert districts to that. And so this is basically what we want to do with this section. Any questions or comments?
No.
Okay. So moving on then, charter school district has no plans for charter school at this time. And then for your alt school, you have Summit. Any questions or concerns with either one?
No.
Okay. So moving on, move into condition right now. This diagram was brought up to us by FBA back in 2016. We like to bring this up every year. We have a lot of district turnover, and amongst all the districts in the state, they've actually talked about where about 25% of the superintendents change over every year. And facility managers, I know Troy likes to use his example when he was a facilities manager back in 2005, that everybody he knew back then, there's only a couple of people that are left from that. And so with this change, we like to remind people what we're trying to do and what the mission going forward is in terms of asset preservation. And so, in your district, you have Munger Mountain that'll be coming on this year. That they usually start out at a .02 in terms of the scores they get for brand new buildings. And so then you look at the building's lifespan, what you have to do to make sure you keep up on it, the preventative maintenance and the major maintenance, and being able to anticipate the needs for the buildings. And so that's more than anything just a continuum and an illustration of that, which ultimately leads to these condition scores. So this is the first page of the FCI list for this past assessment. And currently, so in the budget, all the .4s that were not Laramie 1s were funded to get some work done on them. Laramie 1 has a different, got a different appropriation that was signed by the governor of about $7 million to look at their .4s and above. Excuse me. And so this is more than anything just for your education here. So let's talk about your buildings and where you guys are at. So, so looking at your district, we look here. We have, obviously a lot of your buildings are in very good shape. Not a lot of deferred maintenance on them. Moran and Alta are your highest ones, but even then they're still pretty in good shape. Considering Moran is 58 years old and it's in great shape, and then Alta, being almost 40 years old, is also seems to be in good shape as well. And then ancillary buildings there. Again, the bus barn, we talked about that a little earlier. It was number 4 on the ancillary buildings list, and that one we are looking at to remedy as well for you guys, and that's what that appropriation was for earlier.
I would say, hey, who sets the score? Because there's no money to fix it, but I would say the bus barn score is probably fairly generous. Looking at your little diagram here, that's a 0.65 if it's a 0.
So when we went through the assessments, all districts were trained on the actual tool and methodology. We asked each district to have their best facilities person there, make sure that we captured all of the the data we needed with regard to FEA's assessment itself. Those and then what they would do is collect. They would go on site, do an on-site look at all the systems with someone next to them. They would write their notes, And then with each system, those notes then would be sent back to the district, and we're actually, each district had 2 weeks for each building to review those notes and make sure that the assessor did not miss any data. And then once the review was complete, if there was any concerns, FEA would go through a process that we developed for validating, did you get the correct criteria? And then once that process was done, then a final score was committed to each of those systems. So I think the district was quite involved, and the process is pretty well defined. So just to help you on that, you weren't a part of that, but next time, which is the summer of 2020, I'm sure you will be, and you'll have an opportunity to add any more details to any system that you feel is appropriate.
Beautiful. Thanks for that explanation. That really helped.
You're welcome.
Very good. Thank you. So moving on to major maintenance, this was your 680 report from fiscal year or ending June 30, 2017. Thank you for getting that in, and this is basically just a snapshot of what that was at that point in time. And then these reports are also what came off of that 680 and what your priorities were for the years 2016 and 17. And then by numerical breakdown. And these are more for illustration, and this is for our historical records more than anything. No need really to justify any of the expenditures, but this is just a report for us and how we looked over the major maintenance over the last year. Okay. Now, low condition scores for your district. When FEA comes out, they do mark systems that are scored. So basically, you have a 5-point scale. 5 is excellent, 4 is good, 3 is in fair condition, 2 is in poor condition, and then 1 is failing critical. And so when we talk about low condition scores, we typically focus on the 1 and 2 scores and the district, and there's the systems that are behind those 1 and 2 scores. So thank you for filling out this piece of this and working with Amber. It's good to see a lot like you're pointing out that a lot of those tubes were in your bus barn. And so you can look down through here, a lot of the stuff that has to deal with that.
Hey, Lance, I thought Paul did the windows at Alta this year.
I can't remember if he put in a work order for that or not. I'm sorry, I just don't remember if he did.
We put in, this is Laura, the work order is the 117467. The second work order was put in because Paul thought the labor would be taken care of by internally. He realized that they do not have the human capacity to do that, so we have submitted a work order for the labor piece because we've got to bring an outside source to put the windows in.
And I do want to know really quick for you guys' edification, these scores will stay, like if you did replace something, like say you're talking about the windows and Alta, that score will stay until it's assessed again, and then it'll be updated at that point. That's why we're glad that you have the note here. That way we know what's going on and how you guys are progressing on your load condition scores.
Okay.
Yeah, because see, for example, you know, the new water heater at Moran, it'll show up.
Hey, just so everyone knows, Gillian just stepped out because she's committed to a conference call that starts at 10.
Okay.
So she left me with 2 questions, and I hope I understand what she's asking. She's asking, and we may not be quite there yet, but when we get to page 23, I have 3 questions.
At page 23, that would be, okay. We're at page, okay, what is it in regards to, I guess, the questions?
So she has circled with a question mark the first line item there. It says replace siding at Kelly Elementary, and it says this the spreadsheet's entitled Major Maintenance Project Request Spreadsheet, and I think that siding is complete.
Okay. Let me pull, yeah, we have that first page pulled up. Let's see, is this the only
What is
page
she
we have?
asking about?
It's about Kelly and the siding.
Was that done with that remodel up there at Kelly that you had a couple years ago, Jeff?
Yeah. And unless I'm misunderstanding something, I'm looking at page 23.
Has it been reported on the 680, Laura?
Yes, we've reported it, and we've gone with, we're looking at an old one that I've printed off, but Paul and I have submitted that report to Amber of all the reports that need to be closed, and that is one of them.
Okay.
And that's why it's not.
And so we can do a couple of things. I mean, you can certainly update it. It's not a big deal, guys. This is just kind of a 20,000 foot look at your facility plan, but you can certainly on the next round, you know, we do this yearly, you can certainly just report that and close them as we move forward. It doesn't hurt anything to be there because you're the ones reporting. It'll just be there and we'll just close it next time around and it won't show up on the list. Does that sound fair?
Sure. Carpet at the middle school and high school. I don't know if she's saying that we just replaced them or if they need to be replaced. I don't know. Will you? All right, and then if it's okay, folks, she gave two more questions and none of us understand what the other two are, so Jason's going to go find her and get some clarification, and perhaps if it's not too inconvenient, we can jump back to page 23 when we get a minute.
That's fine. We're actually just kind of working down through that right now. And we can jump back up when he comes back in. That would be perfectly fine. Right now, just more for anything, your planned major maintenance. This is where we're at as of March 1st, your cash account balance. And then if all things hold true for the major maintenance payments, that's what it would look like for this year. So just giving you an anticipated that we're looking around that same range. We're not exactly sure. We're actually getting ready to start working on the calculations for this next year. But for as of right now, we're anticipating that 1.5 million to go be the major maintenance payment for this point in time. So that gives you roughly a balance going forward of $6 million. So, and then we'll talk a little bit more about this, the projects request spreadsheet. We'll talk about that more when Jason gets back. So we'll jump back to that. That's fine at this point. So next, we want to talk about component projects. Let's see. So if you guys want to submit any component projects, typically what we do is we have, like, if you have a big old roof that needs replaced, or boilers, or HVAC systems that need to be replaced, we request them in component funding. And so I don't know if any of you in your district had an opportunity to attend our component webinar, but that information is on our website, and or upon request, if you guys wanted to do that. I just want to make sure we put a plug in that requests are due for this next biennium for September 15th of this year. So just to make sure that you have that information in there. And then, oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just writing down your date that you just said.
Yep. Okay, so yeah. So then September 15th again is that date. So for your information, projects 1 through 16 were signed into law on Wednesday. And so these are the projects that got funded that are currently on the screen. So as you can see, you know, you have roof replacements, heating repair, roof and plumbing, air handling units. And so, you know, really, if you do have any of these big ticket items that we were talking about on your low condition scores, you know, this is a great opportunity to submit for that. And this, you know, planning out for a couple of years, being able to do that.
That might answer. We just got clarity on Gillian's two questions on page 23.
Okay.
It feels like we have some carpeting at the middle school and high school that are low condition. So what you're saying is by September 15th, if we feel like those carpets are in that condition, we would submit that in our component request on September 15th, right?
Correct. You would submit those as projects. Yes, separate projects, but yes, you could submit for carpeting, and you could submit for, what was the other one? I apologize.
It was just carpeting at both schools, and then I believe Lance will affirm this, but I suppose we could also use major maintenance for that too.
Yes, Jeff, and what I was going to ask Charlie to do is explain to you how the component funding is scored by comparing your major maintenance balance, because I think with the balance that you have, you've got for carpeting, and I'm not going to say it wouldn't go through, but it's counterbalanced with what you have with major maintenance. Charlie, you want to
Sure.
brief for the district benefit, explain how that's scored and ranked?
Absolutely. So, Jeff, so for your information here, real quick. So every year, after September 15th, and we get all these projects, we go through a prioritization process that we have representation from the four quarters of the state. So a committee of 12 members of business managers, superintendents, and facility managers, and we prioritize these projects based on a couple things. The condition score of that component, which is, talking about the low condition scores of your flooring, that would be that. The major maintenance balances that are in the district currently, and then other factors such as the ability to hold school, I'm kind of blanking on some of them, but various other. So in our component template, it actually breaks them down about how they're scored. But more than anything, they're based off a variety of scores on that, and then prioritized by that committee into what so when you see list 1 through 16 right here, this committee met last year, and they went through that exercise. They compared the projects, and then made a final determination of where those projects would lie in terms of scoring, and then in terms of how it was prioritized.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like, and we really didn't have an appetite to submit it under component anyway, but it sounds like, if I'm hearing you correctly, that it would likely not be approved as a component because of our incredible thrift with our major maintenance balance.
Jeff, I'll just say that the major maintenance balance adds weight to whether you take it positive or negative. It affects the score, the ranking of your score, the score. So, and not saying that it wouldn't go through, but that's the intent of the component projects are for districts that don't, if they have a roof or something major going bad, that would typically deplete their major maintenance balance, and they couldn't do anything else.
Got it. Thank you, Lance.
You bet.
Right. And it's not necessarily.
But your incredible thrift is well recognized.
And it's legendary throughout the state.
It's legendary.
Yeah. Thank you for recognizing. If you care to put that in the notes, we wouldn't object.
Very good.
So let me jump in here just a little bit, Jeff. This is Troy Decker. So it's kind of interesting, because we have school districts, large school districts, that get 5, 6, 7 million a year in major maintenance, and they submit projects. So it's really more of, you're competing with other districts to get ranked. The requests that really do well are roof, HVAC. We've had some, I see down here on one of your, I think it's toward the bottom of your 1s and 2s, domestic water distribution, 417,000, almost $500,000. Now you have to remember that 417 is just a deferred maintenance number generated off calculation. It does include all the soft cost, design, owner's overhead, how it is, contingency, all those things. So, as I look at yours and your balance, we don't want you to waste your time, and we're not saying you can't submit a component project, but you're probably, for your district, you want to take the ones that are up in the hundreds of thousands, and if you're willing to to submit that, do a good job, work with Lance, and if you've got enough time to just kind of see where it goes for a year or two as we go through it, we're actually preparing now for the biennium budget. This is for the supplemental, of course, that we're meeting now, but next year, a year from now, we'll be meeting for that. So those are the ones I'd recommend. I mean, okay, so, you know, but you're a busy guy too. You're going to have to weigh the cost of, you know, should you spend some quality time on something for $300,000-$400,000 and see where it goes in the list. That's just a thought there, and so don't just push it off, but at the same time know that there may be an opportunity here for $500,000. Keep using your other money well, or right now with Munger Mountain, maybe the best thing for you to do is wait one more biennium and see what happens. So those are just thoughts.
And thank you. That helps a lot for my educational purposes. And I probably have no appetite to submit anything under component right now because of what you just mentioned. We can absorb quite a bit from major maintenance.
Okay.
So, and the timeline is so far out. You know, it's not till 2020. So I think Gillian would like some of these things dealt with before then. But thank you for the very thorough explanation. That helps me as I get my arms around these things.
Nope, and if you do change your mind, that's always there. So.
Perfect.
Okay. So let's, we're going to go ahead and move on to the legislative review for the session. And so really quick, so for your information, House Enrolled Act 18, it did adjust the definition of major maintenance. And so we're actually trying to get our head around everything that we need to, that it has changed. But more than anything, it talks about an inclusion of items such as code items and site items that now can qualify for major maintenance, but we'll get into to see that. Well, I'm not going to get into specifics here, but in order for your information, it's House Enrolled 18, and you can look at what that includes now. The big one out of House Enrolled 18, Enrolled Act 18 is the 7-year phase-in. So, for example, with Munger Mountain coming online this year, it will not have to wait 7 years to receive major maintenance. It will get a full major maintenance payment, I believe. So if it finishes this year, next July, not this July, but July 1 of 2019, it would get payment. I'll have to verify that, but I do believe that would be the case for that. So instead of having to wait 10 years. Go ahead, sorry.
Troy, in the bill that defines major maintenance, I had seen a previous draft that had removed the word upgrade. Did that survive? Because it said repair and replace and upgrade, and they were talking about taking that out, which is sort of a gray area anyway as to what's an upgrade and what's not. But do you know, did that survive, that removal of upgrade?
Let me tell you exactly what did survive. I can go to that here, and I'll bring it up. One moment. Let's see. Okay, so the term now includes the following categories. Code compliance means system improvements, site improvements that are mandated in writing by an authority having jurisdiction for the continued use of a building. Site improvements means the repair, replacement, and or upgrade of those components or equipment schools. So yeah, upgrade is for several of these is a part of the language.
Beautiful. Thank you for answering that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Troy. House Enrolled Act 17, it talks about, it clarifies buildings and square footage to be included in the major maintenance computation, clarifies how emergency funds may be used, which will, you know, obviously it's going to be requiring commission approval for the alternate design and construction methods, but it clarifies the emergency use from just the building to the building and facility. So basically, if you had a water main break before, like outside your building, there was some ambiguity about whether you could use the major maintenance to remedy that. That has been cleaned up, and you can now with that. The other big thing on that one, it requires commission approval before you dispose any buildings. So House Enrolled Act 5 added a third division to our department. Before it was construction management and school facilities. And what ended up happening is that me, Amber, Troy, even Lance, we ended up doing work on for both divisions, and that made it very difficult for accounting measures. And so third division, the operations, was created. And so now we're all part of the operations division, so we can work for both divisions without any hang-ups or any accounting problems. House Enrolled Act 62 is our budget bill. It did get signed Wednesday night, and it is now law. And so we ended up getting quite a few good things out of that, and ended up making sure we got full major maintenance, and everything was funded that was asked by the Select Committee and by the Joint Appropriations Committee with one add. They did add Cary Junior High School into that budget. That was the only main change that happened. Any questions on that legislative session?
No.
Okay. So that brings us to the 2019 supplemental budget considerations. In House Enrolled Act 62, there is a paragraph C, which talks about what we can bring forward for the supplemental budget. And basically, it's just kind of highlighted here on the screen that we only will bring forth the items that are emergency or unanticipated need, and then the refinement of any scopes that are for current projects that are out there that may be short of funding or anything at that point. And that's really the only thing we can bring forward. With that definition and those constraints, are there any emergencies or unanticipated needs for your district at this time?
No, I think the most exigent things we have are going to be dealt with through safety and security.
Thank you. Okay, well, that brings us to the last section of the facility plan, the unique issues, ideas, and concerns. So if there's anything in the facility plan meeting that we haven't covered or that you would like to talk about, now is that time, and I'll go ahead and turn that over to you, district.
Hang on. I'm looking back at my notes from my call with Amber to see what she... I think we've actually covered everything that I highlighted in my conversation with Amber.
There's one important thing, was a visit to the area.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. I have dealt with this with Amber. She, has a firm grasp of the projects and the challenges that are so unique to Teton County. And Troy, I understand you will be heading this way in the near future, and we think it's critical that Amber be a part of that visit. Have never set foot in this part of the state. I say South Park, she has no idea of what I'm talking about. When I describe the sewer line west or south of Munger Mountain, I think it would tremendously enhance her efficacy for her to join you on that trip up here in the next couple of months.
I think it sounds like a must for professional development.
Agreed. She's just got to get out from behind that computer occasionally.
Very well spoken. Very well spoken.
There's your rationale. Put that in the leave request, Amber.
Exactly. I love it.
I will have to say I haven't been, I guess I was there about a year ago. For me, I haven't been up there for over a year now, Jackson. So, but I would love to come see that as well at some point.
Like a self-invite team.
On the school, that would be a good time.
I'm sorry, say that again.
When you come up to check in on Munger Mountain, that would be a good time. And I don't know if that's going to be midsummer.
Hey. I don't know. I'll have to leave that one to Troy as well.
Okay.
All right.
Just a thought.
Yeah,
well, I can tell you this. We really do appreciate Amber, and the fact is that this coming summer I am going to take her out to some districts and take her out for a week just to expand her in-person knowledge of districts. So thank you for the invite, and we may just take you up on that, and you'll probably be sorry when we do, but we'll think about that seriously.
I love it.
Do note, for purposes of budgeting and thrift, if you come in the spring and fall, there are 2-for-1 specials all over town.
Okay, there you go.
There you go. Nicely done. All right. Is there anything else that we need to cover at this point?
Charlie, I have a question on current events from Jeff, or for Jeff. Jeff, how did it go with the board approval on our notice of awards for the parking lot and the FF&E Wednesday night?
I will say it was unbelievably somewhat Western, but they are all approved.
Okay, so you'll be sending me a copy of those notice of awards so I can get those to Cheyenne for Shelby's signature then?
Yeah, I expect, in fact, I think I saw them in my inbox today, so I will deal with those. Jason's signaling me that he's got it in hand. So we'll get those back to you. And then, Lance, they need to have a special meeting. As I said, our board meeting this month can be characterized by the word Western. So they want to have a special meeting to review and approve those AIA contracts for the 4 vendors that are being issued notices of award. So as soon as Kurt has those, we got to get them to the board. They have a special meeting on the 21st, next Wednesday.
Oh, so did Janine sign was she able to sign the one for the parking lot?
Did she? I was not in. I'll follow up on that, Lance. I would imagine she did.
Okay.
But I'll follow up.
All right, thank you. That's it for me, Charlie.
All right. Thank you. Troy, anything?
No, it was a good meeting. Thank you, Teton 1, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
And thank you for all your help getting us through, Amber. We really appreciate it.
She was amazing. In fact, I would recommend giving her the day off.
I've really enjoyed working with you guys last week and everything. So thank you for being patient and doing the things that you had to do.
All right. And with that, I just want to thank her and thank you again, District, for your time today. And we continue to look forward to working with you guys here in the future. And with that, we'll go ahead and end the meeting and stop the recording. Thank you and have a great day.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can follow up on that.